So Seti and I are going to talk about escape rooms and compare them to life itself. It's real deep. Seti, what's an escape room?
An escape room is a series of puzzles that you have to unlock in order for you to escape a room in specific.
And it costs money.
Of course, absolutely. So you would actually pay money to put yourself under stress and pressure in order to have fun.
So you're telling me that people like us pay, say, $40 to $50 to be locked into a room for an hour.
Right.
And what do you do when you're in the room?
You have to solve puzzles under a certain time limit, or else you will die.
So basically, as you just said, we lock ourselves into it. We pay money to lock ourselves into a stressful situation, the goal of which is to exit, which, by the way, if we didn't pay the $50, we wouldn't even enter the room. Thus, we've already won before we started.
Technically, yes, but I don't know if you consider it as winning, because what is winning in life?
I don't know. What is winning in life?
Winning is winning in life, meaning that you get put under a certain circumstance that you have to solve, and we wake up every morning technically to solve a problem, meaning like nothing comes easy. We have all trouble and tribulations, and we gotta go through this path called life journey, and there are obstacles that we need to figure out. So I think escape room is actually a way for you to overcome any obstacles that is in your mind that sets limits for you.
That's deep
to grow.
That's great. Well, that's I think you got to like the summary. The end. Okay, everybody. Good night. No,
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So here's what happened. About a year ago, Seti, myself, and some of our friends tried an escape room.
Yes,
and it was super cool. So we went. It was a creepy one. So it's like we're locked in like a serial killer's boiler room, and you have to solve puzzles that get out, and like trap doors open, and there's crawl spaces, and it's scary, and there's like spider webs and jump scares and all that stuff. And so we're locked into this claustrophobic little room. We use our various brains in different types of brains, like pattern recognition, math, some physical stuff like crawling through the dirt, and looking for hidden objects and stuff like that. So we all put our brains together and collaborated to solve a very hard obstacle. And then when we were done, we won. We didn't die. So we got out at like 50 minutes, and you have 60 minutes to do it before you lose. And we just felt so great. And then I go and I tell everyone about it. I'm like, dude, I think we're addicted to this new thing. And since then we've done like a bunch.
Oh, I can't even count them.
Like it's we're dorks, and we just keep doing it over and over. And not only that, we keep recruiting new friends, and they get addicted to it. And everyone just loves it when they do it.
And we don't escape every time. 90% of the time. Not every time, but 90% of the time.
Right. So
we're smart.
Sometimes I tell people and they go, that sounds so stupid. I think our buddy Vlad was like, that sounds 0% fun. I go, what do you mean? He's like, you're signing up to be stressed out. You're signing up to fill your life, which is filled with problems. You're signing up to fill it with more problems. And I go, you gotta have a point there. And it really got me thinking, why do we do this? Now, Seti, you already threw some light onto this, which was that it's sort of a simulator metaphor of life itself.
True.
Right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, tell me, before we get real big picture with it, like, what are some of the things you really enjoy about being locked in a room where you're forced to solve pointless problems?
That's a good question. I think it's the adrenaline that gets me, and the fact that instant gratification.
Is it instant?
At that moment of me solving a puzzle or a problem, I think so. Like, it gives me a little, I don't know, feeding. It's not ego, not necessarily ego, but maybe, could be a little bit of ego, I could say.
Well, ego, like, I accomplished this.
in a sense, like woohoo, but not only me, because it's not about being selfish. It's just the idea of teamwork. We need. Oh, by the way, teamwork is very important and
mandatory. Some of them
very mandatory,
often mandatory.
And what I mean by, because there's some people that mistake the ego in a sense of, it's me, I'm gonna solve it, and I had played with some people who are like,
oh, like you've been put in rooms, we've been put in rooms with strangers, and there's the egomaniacs who don't want other people to
help
have
or
fun.
nothing. Like between me and you, if I'm stuck in something that's like, yo, Reedy, it's all you. You know what I mean? And same thing with him. It's like, Sari, comfort. So it's like, that's what I like about is teamwork and the survival of the fittest in a sense, not in just individually, but as a unity. And the fact of instant gratification about the ego is like, cool, okay, why would I doubt myself of not solving this puzzle? I'm smart enough. You're smart enough. People are like, it's a way of, you can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. Okay, so, well, first, it doesn't sound like ego. I mean, I guess we have to define ego.
Yeah.
I think the way you're viewing ego is that derogatory sense of like, it's me, I'm the machoist hero and everyone is under me. Like it's none of that. It's actually,
it's not that.
That doesn't happen. It's inside of these, say there's 30 challenges inside a room, and certain people who are good at patterns dominate with that, and then other people are good at math or finding
numbers,
things or physical things, and then in a good group you go, Said, you're good at this one, you give this a shot, I'm just like dying over here.
Right.
So it's actually a selflessness where it's like, I'm not good at this, who's appropriate to solve the problem, which is almost like this weird microcosm, macrocosm of like how families should work, how businesses should work, how civilization should work, which is we're all in this together. There's actually problems that if one of us or all of us don't solve it, none of us move forward.
Right.
I mean, one could compare this to environmentalism or
it's just like a chain. Let's say one of the links is loose or is not very much of a teamwork, it will break. The chain will break. So as like a team effort, you do need 2 brains is better than 1, 3 brains is better than 1. But at the same sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen can mess it up because everybody wants to take charge or lead, but rather not do equal work or help each other.
So what you're telling me is that in an escape room, and perhaps like life, problem solving is a delicate dance you could never define beforehand. You can't say SETI's going to solve all of the problems.
Right.
You can't say, well, here's the system of how we operate in solving problems. SETI tries for 10 minutes, then Steven tries for 10 minutes, then Scott tries for 10 minutes, or it's what I'm saying is we're thrown into a chaotic situation. We can't be rigid in how we solve the problems.
Correct.
Instead, we go with the flow, and we have enough structure of teamwork, knowing our own strengths and weaknesses, knowing our friends' strengths and weaknesses.
Correct.
And on the fly, like a weird little flexible calculator going, I think SETI and Red, you two would be good at this one. How about you guys go over there? I'll try the one you're on. Things like that.
Right, yes.
And it seems like this is one of those strange ultimate metaphors of like a structure of life we should all be living in some strange way. This is the funniest thing, by the way, comparing like a dumb little puzzle room to like how to live life. But it's been shockingly deep, and that's why we're recording this.
Oh, yeah.
So in solving problems, the delicate dance of what's appropriate, how to respond spontaneously and appropriately in any given situation.
Any given situation.
In some of them, it might require 4 people to push 4 buttons at the same time, for like on different walls of the room. So you absolutely need all 4 people.
A chain reaction.
To be in sync. Okay, so this is confusing to me because I thought that society has taught me that work is that boring, dumb thing. And at the end of the day, I'm supposed to celebrate not working by doing the opposite of work. How come in our recovery time we choose work? Are we disgusting? Are we disgusting people, or is there more
I think
to
we're
it?
sick people. We go opposite of the spectrum, if you want to say. For me personally, I would say I would rather spend my money on something that will make me grow mentally and spiritually, perhaps, skillfully even, than going out to a club or a bar and waste that money drinking. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times where, yes, go have fun, do your thing, party it up. But some people do it every weekend. They spend about $100 on that. And come on, man. And they're trying to escape life rather than actually living life.
Okay, so what you're saying is, what's this escaping? What's escape life?
Escape life. Escape life.
Wait, so this is okay. So we're praising escape rooms as sort of a strange formula of how life works, but then meanwhile we're criticizing escapism.
Right.
So maybe what you're saying is we are escaping responsibilities. We're escaping problems. So it's almost like going into an escape room and going, here's a puzzle that looks hard. I'm just going to get drunk so I don't have to solve this.
A lot of it, yes.
Puzzle in front of me.
And here, some people might argue that, it's debate. It's like, no, I drink to party. I want to have fun. I want to do that. It's cool. I'm not judging, not all that. But
in recovery is vital.
Recovery is very vital.
Right.
Yeah.
But continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, but the idea, there's a lot of people that use such substances like vices and stuff to actually escape reality or escape their life problems rather than head on facing them and solving it right away. You know what I mean? So I would rather put my money into working on my skills and my innocence, and I put myself in these situations, I guess, to escape some part of it, and in order for me, it teaches me about life as well, and just
right. So I work. What is you said the word vice. What is the definition of vice? Do you think?
Vice.
Let's see. I just looked it up, and it's actually what I was gonna say is it's. I was gonna say a definition more like running from responsibility or something like that, like a numbing yourself so you don't have to face the problem at hand. Let's see, the dictionary here says immoral or wicked behavior, but then what is wicked behavior? Criminal activities involving prostitution. Interesting.
Pornography or drugs.
Interesting. Well, okay, so
maybe vice is not the right word.
no. Well, it's fascinating because then now we're gonna look at the bigger picture here. If an escape room we're proposing an escape room as a decent metaphor for how to operate in life, or we're trying to solve that. And then in life, what happens is we're faced with an avalanche of problems all the time, and everyone has to solve dozens of these problems a day.
Right.
But then some of them are gigantic, and we never want to face them, and we never want to face them because we're not good enough to face them, and we don't want to admit that we're not good enough. Right. Well, I mean, essentially, if there's a problem at hand, the reason it's not solved is because you don't know how to solve it. Why don't you know how to solve it? Perhaps that technology doesn't exist. Perhaps there's a flaw in your behavior. Jungian psychology would say that we repeat the same patterns over and over again. In fact, we face the same puzzles over and over again.
That's very true.
There's a phenomenon in romantic relationships, or just relationships in general, because it could be friendships and work relationships, but real heavily romantic relationships. And this has been studied a lot and in depth. For example, there's a book, The Human Magnet Syndrome, which speaks about this. People will always date the same personality type, more or less. And like one experiment that was done is they put 100 strangers in a room. One of them was abused. Another is an abuser. And the other 98 are just people. And they watch them. And every time, like, let's say it's like a single mingle kind of like party. Those two will find each other, the abuser and the abused, almost like puzzle pieces just needing to be locked together. And so there's your material science, there's your proof, and it's like a 100% thing. This person will find this person. And then they go, why? Well, we don't know why, because now we're out of the realm of anything we could measure, but we just know it happens all the time. Right. So here's the theory. It is as if the abuser and the abused both have things to learn. Maybe the abused needs to understand strength. Okay. And the abuser needs to understand compassion and responsibility. Right. And they say, the quote is, relationships are Mother Nature's way of balancing, teaching us to solve the problems we can't see in ourselves. So in a way, what they're saying is a relationship itself is putting yourself into an escape room with each other. And what are you unlocking? You're unlocking repressed parts of your personality.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy? So then they say in
That's
a
very
relationship, say
interesting.
a marriage. I've never been married, but both you and I have been in like long, serious relationships
Right.
with people and like lived with them and such. And
Humans.
it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding, but then there's these puzzles that happen, and then it
Yep.
becomes tension or arguments or fights, and it's and you have to somehow solve what's my motivations, what are your motivations, what is this actually about? It's not about the dishes.
No.
It might be about you're scared of this emotional thing or that emotional thing.
And not
You know,
being
like, it-
open towards it and like talk about it in order you
Right.
solve it.
So you peel backwards, and almost they help you. The other person becomes like the obstacle to decode, and maybe you're not fixing them, but together you're solving an issue that might lie deep inside of you,
Correct.
or might lie deep inside of them.
Right.
And then they say in healthy marriages, like say, I believe traditional Jewish weddings, the husband and the wife, when they get married, they light a candle and they say, you two don't exist. What you guys want doesn't matter anymore. It's about this candle. Keep the candle lit only. I heard this from listening to Jordan Peterson, so I didn't come up with this example. But essentially it goes, keep the candle lit, and there's going to be all kinds of obstacles that show up that want to blow out the candle. So the puzzle is, how do you keep it lit?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it might be like, the husband is responsible for its downfall right now. So then together they have to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost saying like everything, the healthy, everything is like a puzzle. The healthy worldview I sort of adopted once we picked up our weird escape room habit a year ago was everything in life is a puzzle. Every single thing.
Everything.
And to view things through the lens of, this is just a weird, interesting game. Is it a game where I need to find pattern recognition, or I need to find a tool that's hidden, or etc.? You know, what do you think about all this?
It makes a lot of sense, and a lot of it, like, you know, when they say read the signs
Oh, in life?
in life.
Ooh, yeah, right.
So it's weird. I don't want to be like superstitious. Oh,
Just be, who
superstitious.
cares?
Yeah, who cares? But the idea is sometimes you meet a certain person, or like listen. A lot of it, listening to what other people say. There's a little hidden codes that I think you can collect from each person that you meet. And a lot, like Bruce Lee, you know, a lot of Bruce Lee's way is obtain what is useful and disregard what is not useful.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of it is just absorbing what's good, and there are signs around if you listen. And you might not solve what you're thinking of tomorrow or now. It could be in a week or something, but you have to be observant, and you have to keep your eyes and mind open. Your third eye is right here. So you just look through here, but interpret shit up here in a way.
Well, that's funny that you say that. In alchemy, which is sort of an ancient metaphor of psychology, some could say,
Right.
psychology of the soul, which psyche means soul. So psychology, by definition, is the study of unpacking the soul. So anyway, so alchemy, there's various chemical steps. They use chemistry as a metaphor for evolving your insides. Basically, like, you are the scientist,
Right.
you're the beaker,
Okay.
and you're the chemicals inside of it.
In one, okay.
And what you're trying to make at the end of this process is gold. You're supposed to turn lead into gold.
Right.
You're supposed to take the base metals, the shit of existence, and through fire and trauma and the exact measurement in the little dance of like
Create
chemical cooking,
Yeah.
you create gold.
Create
And they say
gold,
gold
yeah.
is a higher capacity to do anything in life. If you're an iPhone battery and you hold 8 hours, you find some of this gold, now you hold 9 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
And you could do more, and you have a faster processor every
Right.
time you find some of this gold. So in this chemistry, there's many steps, but one of them is called mortificatio, which means mortification or death.
Okay.
So you pour all these chemicals into the vessel, or you put all of these external experiences into yourself, as you said.
Right.
And then, as Bruce Lee said, you have to throw some of it away, or most of it away. In mortificatio, the chemicals burn and harden and become this like toxic goop, more or less. And like 98% of it then has to be thrown away.
Right, because it doesn't make sense in a sense.
But then
the structure.
what remains, the 2% that remains, is like this real high quality chemical that you do the next steps with. And shortly thereafter, the next steps would be the conjunctio, which means conjunction.
Conjunction,
Where they say you combine opposites of any problem you're facing. You're combining the opposites in yourself, but like if you're facing a problem, you're taking what you know and you're taking what you don't know and you're smushing it together.
Right.
You're taking your love of something and you're also your fear of that thing and you're smushing it together.
Right.
And then actually you said third eye a second ago, and that's actually the same metaphor, because third eye would be like the opposite hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right. Left is order and masculine, right is chaos and imagination and feminine. And when they talk together in concert, that's the metaphor of the third eye. And some would believe it's beyond metaphor, and there's a pineal gland and et cetera.
You go way deeper.
I ain't no expert on that, so I'm not even going to go there. But okay, so we enjoy solving problems. Perhaps it's a fascinating simulation of life. Now, how about this? I'm not the first person to joke about this, but a lot of us escape room dorks like to be like life is an escape room.
Life is. Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like
life being in an escape room?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We mentioned it before, and you mentioned it as well. Is like, so.
And I mean literally, the Matrix.
The Matrix. To solve, the next step of you to level up.
Metaphorically, literally.
Malfunction. Boom, mind blown. Okay, here's in conclusion, in a sense, you want, or
you just go for it.
Go for it. All right,
and we'll wrap it up in the near future, regardless.
So, life is an escape room because we wake up every morning to solve a problem. Not necessarily like a major problem, but we have to tackle the day and figure out what's our mission for that day. You know, we're thankful we wake up another day, you know what I mean? This is life. It keeps you moving. Think about it this way. Life is like a heart monitor. All right?
Okay.
So with every beep, it goes up and down. And this is life. You know, it's what goes up must come down. What goes down must come up. Nothing stays stagnant or consistent. Because if it stays in a flat line, you're dead.
Right. Well, we have entropy, the law of entropy, which means everything on Earth is trying to kill you always. So life force itself,
and we got to dodge it. Like
your immune system, all of that is actually fighting a constant battle to not be torn apart.
You got to bob and weave and jab and hook.
Yeah, Seti's making punching gestures for those who are only listening and not watching. Here's what kind of blew my mind when I really started thinking about this. In Eastern traditions, there's this notion of samsara. You know what this is?
No.
It's the circle of life. So those are the paradigms where you believe.
Sorry, what is it called again?
Samsara.
All right.
And that's the whole thing where I'm going to summarize, overgeneralize various worldviews that all kind of believe in the same thing, which is souls need to learn some stuff, but they exist in a place where there's not bad guys, there's not friction, they're limitless, and there's only one thing something that's limitless lacks, which is limitation.
Okay.
So if you want to learn something, it means you have to first become dumb.
Okay.
So there's like all belief systems that believe in a God ask the same question. If God is all knowing in all everything, why would it make something dumber than itself? It's like, because that's the one thing he, she, it doesn't have, which is weakness, feebleness, right? So it's almost like an all-powerful can't exist without the opposite of all-powerful, and they call that life. So then they go in Indian traditions, they say life is just a dream of Shiva, or all existence is just a play of consciousness, like a stage play.
Right.
And all the great philosophers have gone like, why would anyone want to throw themselves into this hell realm called existence, where like you could starve to death and there's pain? Why would something all powerful create pain? It's like, because that's the only way it could either entertain itself or learn about itself, or maybe it's bored, or maybe if all possibility exists, then, limitation exists as well as limitlessness. But then if everything is made out of that same godlike entity, then it essentially threw itself into a situation to solve problems called life.
Right.
So it could learn how to escape. Well, how does it learn to escape? Well, by the paradigm of souls and reincarnation, they go through a process called samsara, which is they're born, they live life, they die.
Right. And that's
They're
the circle
reborn,
of life.
they live, and it goes on in this loop. Birth, life, death, birth, life, death, birth, life, death. And each time the soul learns a little thing. So each existence, each human life is a puzzle.
Right.
A puzzle or two. And sometimes that puzzle could be called karma. And like you're also the puzzle creator. Correct. By what you do. Like if you do something dumb, you just created a puzzle for yourself.
Figure that shit out.
And then soon you keep solving all these puzzles enough where you go, I've now learned everything.
Right.
Buddha did this, except he refused to solve the final puzzle. He said, I'm going to help everyone else get out of here first. Then together we'll escape.
Okay.
So Buddha actually didn't leave. Leaving samsara is a process called moksha. That means you're leaving this cycle of death and rebirth. Thus, you're leaving. It's that paradigm's version of going to heaven, because you then leave this room called time and space.
Right.
Where there's problems, you'd leave it, and then there's no pain.
So you're in a higher level, basically.
Yeah. And they say that's...
So if you're not Buddha, and Buddha, by the way, is not just one person. Buddha's everybody, the enlightened one. Everybody's a Buddha, you know what I mean? So basically, if you don't work on yourself to grow mentally as well as physically, because physically we already are programmed to do that, we grow. But mentally, if we are more aware and more enlightened, we can escape that loop that you're talking about.
That's correct. And actually, then they say, these wise ancients of Eastern traditions, and also Western traditions have it, tarot, like tarot cards.
Yeah.
Some explanations are it actually is Torah, which means law,
right,
laid out on a circle, and you're reading it backwards. Torah spelled backwards is Taro, and then when it repeats, it hits the Taro. Like there's other explanations, like it's a game called Taroki and stuff. We won't get into that, but to answer your question, they say the wise ancients of almost every tradition from a couple thousand years ago, East and West, kind of gets to the same conclusion. We are souls that entered a game.
Okay.
And the only reason we're playing the game is just so we could learn how to beat the game. It's like, and the motive is the weird part. Some motives are, it's like creator training, it's God school, or it's just fun. It's like Total Recall.
Life,
it's like the movie Total Recall.
And they say, life is an experience by itself. It's the best teacher. There, where I was.
And then it's like, so then why would people sign up to face problems in an escape room just for the sake of the problems? Well, the ancients actually said the same thing. Souls decided to face problems just for the sake of facing problems.
Right.
And then biochemically, it's like it's almost built into us because, there's
programmed.
There's happy chemicals, oxytocin, serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. And dopamine, we're just going to talk about dopamine. That's just the happy. You look at something, someone likes a photo on Instagram,
right?
And you go, ooh, you get a little crumb of that. Well, greater dopamine comes from having a goal and incrementally solving the problems that need to be solved on your way to that goal. You know what I mean?
It's gratification.
Say you're a creative guy and you're an actor, and then as you work on your acting, as like these milestones in your life show up, to go, I am doing it right. I am good. People do like me. Like once you see those milestones, like maybe someone gives you good feedback or a person of authority praises you and gives you a job, like
Right.
that's dopamine. Well, because
true.
you created a problem called be successful creative person.
Right.
And you couldn't just snap your fingers and be successful creative person. So you work towards it. So you solve many puzzles in service of a great puzzle. And biologically, you and we are all rewarded to meet those baby milestones with happy chemicals that exist in ourselves. And we don't get to give it to ourselves until we do this. Now we went back to the word vice. Vice is cheating that. It's removing the work. It's saying, I don't want to solve problems, but I want the reward anyway. So I'm going to take this substance or partake in this wicked behavior.
Right.
To feel happy without earning it. But then there's no, it's like you wanted to be a good weightlifter, but you never built up the endurance to lift weights. So then when you go to lift the heavy weight, you just damage yourself.
Makes no sense. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Or you can take steroids, but that's different.
So,
But still, you can. I'm kidding. No. Okay.
so maybe the last piece of this is something that's been a realization I came upon on a little while ago. I'm kind of a workaholic type, and I always have been. And I understand that an important part of work is recovery.
Always.
But I feel like we're in a society that's obsessed with the recovery. We're recovery and comfort obsessed because work, especially like work that you really care about, is painful.
Yeah.
That challenge is scary.
Yep.
I don't know how to solve this problem. Thus, it's scary. What if this happens? What if that happens? And why would I expend energy on this? And I felt like I don't, personally speaking, I felt like I was raised in a world that worshipped recovery and luxury. And work was just that thing you had to do, so you never had to work ever again. And then I realized, like, no, actually, we're here to work, but the type of work we want to do, and I don't know where this, I'm not going to get into that follow your dreams paradigm because I don't know what to say about that, but I feel like we're supposed to be working all the time. I mean, in a healthy way. Yes, recover. Yes, have friends. Go do things with your friends. Go turn your brain off.
Yeah, socializing is important as well. I think if we don't work of anything or keep ourselves busy, we'll go insane.
Right.
Because the brain is a puzzle by itself.
Yeah.
So if you cannot, not keep yourself busy, but think outside the box in a sense, because then when you're stuck in there, this is a maze, man. And I've been there. I'm saying out of experience where, I stayed in a room for 24 hours and maybe more, and I'm not talking about escape room, but, it just kept my mind going. Your mind is
in a bad way.
In a bad way. And they say your mind is your worst enemy. My goodness. That's an escape by itself.
Well, the Minotaur in is it ancient Greek? Like, God, I'm getting my stories mixed up. But the Minotaur, the half beast, half man that's stuck in a maze, I've heard it interpreted beautifully as that's our mind. Our mind is still a part of our animal self.
Right.
Our intellect, that is. There's a higher mind, and that's what actually operates everything. But like, if you go into the mind, if the real you, the higher part of you, goes into your mind, it could get trapped in the maze that the Minotaur dominates. And all the Minotaur wants to do is just kill anything in its path and get lost and get angry.
Right.
And you don't want to be down there with it. And the reason it's more animal than man is because that's a symbol of us.
Right. And hence we are animal kingdom. And you know what I mean?
And they're like, we'll slay the Minotaur and learn how to leave the maze. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's pretty deep. But, well, in conclusion, it seems like the escape room, we've made a case that the escape room is a decent enough metaphor. This is so dorky. A decent enough metaphor for like, here's the structure of life. When people go, Seti, why the fuck would you spend money to face obstacles you don't need to face? Why would you do that?
I guess it's just, again, solving a problem, getting instant gratification. And once we accomplish that, level up in the mind, and I think it prepares you for what's to come outside in life. Because again, we said life is an escape room as itself. You know what I mean? I think that, and also, if it's a good story, of us escaping a room, because I I find that more entertaining as well, rather than going watch a movie or even out clubbing and you know what I'm saying, flirting and shit. Well, that's fine. I have a girlfriend. I have no time with that, but or get drunk in sense or do that shit.
Oh, and doing it together, which is maybe like it's more fun because it's together. If I was
Yes.
locked in a room by myself, that'd just be boring.
No, and they say one hand can't clap by itself. Kind of.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Well, but you know what I mean.
Well, on that note, I'm Stephen Reedy.
And I am Sari Sabella.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.